And moving on to our consent calendar, I believe we have one consent calendar, which is the adoption of the meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2025. Do we have a motion?
Move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Will the secretary please take the roll?
Commissioner Kwok,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Klopp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nating,
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Strongman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is public communications. This is an opportunity for the public to address us on any subject that is not on the agenda. If you're here for the project we're having a public hearing for, you will have a voice at that time. But otherwise, anyone have anything they would like to tell us on any other subject, you're welcome to come forward, please. Seeing nobody coming to the podium, we will close public communications and go on to a disclosure of ex parte communications and other issues. Okay, I see none on that. We'll move on to item 4, public hearings. The project, the Haven Single-Family Residence Development. Application Y24051.
I would like to comment that I discovered after reading through the materials that I live only about 700 feet from the site of the hearing tonight, and so I'm going to recuse myself from that matter. Take my leave.
And then we'll have a staff presentation. I will try to. I have the mic. Okay.
Good evening, Chair Strongman, Planning Commission. My name is Gerardo Victoria. I'm an assistant planner with the Community Development Department. The project before you today is the Haven Single Family Residential Development located at 1948 3rd Avenue, application ID Y24-051. Some site context for the project at 1948 3rd Avenue. The parcel is outlined in the white dotted lines here. This is 3rd Avenue. The general plan designation is single-family medium. The zoning is single-family residential, and it is surrounded by other single-family residential homes here. The project description is to demo the existing single-family residence and accessory structures on the site, construct a 6-lot subdivision with a private street, construct a 5-foot land dedication consistent with the future street setback standards along 3rd Avenue here, and construct 6 two-story homes, one of which affordable. Here are the first 3, and here are the last 3. Provide new landscaping, remove 19 trees, 3 of which are highly protected in Walnut Creek, provide new fencing and retaining walls, provide density bonus with 13 waivers. This project is under review under SB 330, and they are complying with the objective design standards with the exception of the 13 waivers that they're asking for under density bonus law. Tonight, the Planning Commission is tasked with consideration for the new Haven single-family residential development. This project went before the Design Review Commission on December 4th, 2024 as a study session. Tonight, the project is before the Planning Commission for the consideration of a major subdivision, density bonus, design review, tree removal, and tree drip line encroachment permits. So when this project went to the Design Review Commission on December 4th, design review made recommendations for the project. To incorporate additional native trees and more native plant species to the site, study the fenestration on Lot 4 for additional privacy for the adjacent property on Thomas Lane, provide additional 2x4 trim detailing to enhance the architecture, study the lots 1 and 4 as they need additional attention regarding colors and materials. The bioretention, they advise to evaluate the feasibility of relocating the bioretention area that's adjacent to Lot 6 to the position alongside Lot 3. Additional recommendations was to replace the 2-foot wood retaining wall proposed on the plan set with a concrete retaining wall and a 7-foot fence. Receive clarity on the density bonus unit on how that was costing the developer. Require the HOA to have the following conditions: 1 parked car parked in the garage and trash receptacles to be kept inside of the garage. So, the applicant has provided an additional Coast live oak on the plan set, which is a highly protected tree in Walnut Creek, and they are providing additional native plant species. Now, I understand that the applicant has made additional changes to the landscaping, which when they come up in their turn to speak, they will provide that context for you. They are providing a 2-foot concrete retaining wall instead of the 2-foot wood retaining wall with a 7-foot fence. They are going to be providing smaller windows with a 6-foot sill height. Now, your staff report and your project plans state it's a 6-foot fence, but that is another detail that they are changing to provide a 7-foot fence on top of the 2-foot retaining wall. They will provide additional 2x4 trim detailing on all windows and doors throughout the site. Full siding on both floors with an enhanced pop-up window and a large belly band on lots 1 and 4. Now, the bioretention area, they studied it. Moving that adjacent to lot 3 would create a low point in the middle of the site, which could cause flooding to lots 3 and 6. So in order to maintain the historic drainage path, they decided against moving that bioretention area that's adjacent to lot 6 to lot 3. Now, let me stop there because the senior engineer for staff is here. He's going to provide greater context when there's questions available for the bioretention areas. The additional recommendations I will outline on the proposed site plan in other slides coming up on how that's going to look. The applicant has agreed to discuss the following conditions in the CC&Rs. And regarding the clarity on the density bonus unit and how that was costing the developer. So each unit to build is between 1 million and 1.5 million. And the moderate income unit that they're providing, the density bonus unit, they need to turn around and then at a moderate income level, that's how it's costing the developer. But they can provide further context if I'm misspeaking. So this is the existing site plan. As you can see here, this is the existing single-family residence with the accessory structures here and here. This is 3rd Avenue here. This is the proposed site plan. All 6 lots are ranging from 2,660 square feet to 4,060 square feet. The biggest one is lot 3 right here. So this is the new 7-foot fence that they're providing that runs alongside lots 1 and 3 all the way to lot 4 down here in the blue. And it runs on the rear of lots 4, 5, and 6 with this yellow. And I apologize because I'm colorblind. I think this is yellow. But this yellow, that 2-foot retaining wall runs from lot 3 all the way to the side of lot 4 and to the rear of lot 4. So the density bonus request, the general plan designation allows 3.1 to 6 dwelling units per acre. So the maximum for this site is 5 units. Because they are providing one affordable unit, it is a 20% density bonus that's dedicated to moderate income level. Because they are providing the 20%, they are allowed an additional 15% increase in density, which equals to 0.75, which is 1 unit. This is where they're getting their 6 maximum single-family residences. Now, just to clarify, density bonus allows relief from standards that would physically preclude feasibility of the housing development. The applicant is requesting 13 waivers from the regular development standards. The city is required to waive such standards unless it makes specific findings that any such proposal would have a specific adverse impact upon the health, safety of the physical environment. So these are the 13 waivers. I'm just going to touch on a few. So the minimum lot sizes in the residential 8 zone are 8,000 square feet. They're proposing the minimum lot size for the development at 2,600 square feet. The minimum side yard setback in the residential 8 zone is 5 feet on one side. They are providing 3.5 feet. The aggregate side yard setback in the residential 8 zone is 15 feet. They are providing 7 feet. And the minimum rear yard setback in the residential 8 zone is 15 feet, and they are providing 14 feet. So this is the design. They have two designs. They have two style homes, the Bay Area and the farmhouse. Plan 1 Bay Area, Plan 2 Bay Area, Plan 1 farmhouse, Plan 2 farmhouse. This is the design that went before the Design Review Commission meeting on December 4th. As you can see, they made minor modifications. They did provide smaller windows, what they call bullet windows. I know that's not a term that's often used, but they just mean smaller windows with a sill height of 6 feet. I will clarify this point in another slide regarding the windows and the sill heights. Just some design features. They are providing smooth coat stucco with lap siding. This is the design for the farmhouse that went before the Design Review Commission meeting on December 4th. Some minor modification that they've made is smaller bullet windows with a pop-out right here. And as you can see, it's smooth coat stucco. There's some design features with some lap siding. So all new landscaping that will be located and maintained that allows visibility to the site. So they are proposing 4 new trees. There is an update to that number, which they will present when they come up. Here you have 2 desert willows, the new coast live oak, and the magnolia. At the Design Review Commission hearing on December 4th, they were only proposing magnolia trees. So on the site, there's a total of 28 trees. They are proposing to remove 19 total, all outlined here in red. The ones with the stars are the highly protected trees. Out of those 19, the city arborist has approved removing 11. The 8 trees that are remaining are in good health. And the green trees are here that are going to be staying on the site. So staff anticipates to use the categorical CEQA exemption, and staff was able to make the findings as outlined in the staff report that has been provided to you. So staff is recommending to move to adopt the draft resolution regarding the CEQA determination, the major subdivision, the density bonus, and requested waivers pursuant to state density bonus law, tree removals and tree drip line encroachment permits, with the added conditions of approval that the 2nd-story windowsill height on the left elevation of Lot 4 shall be no less than 6 feet and shall be shown on the plan submitted for building permits. I am available for questions. The senior engineer for staff is available for questions, and the applicant is also here with the presentation.
Thank you for your presentation, very informative. So starting now with the commission, questions? Seeing none, or do you have a question? Seeing none. I guess one of my questions is that reading through all the material, there seems to be questions about the drainage. Could you spend some time, or have somebody spend some time explaining the current drainage and the drainage after development?
Yes, at this time, I'm going to call up Brian Cook, the senior engineer onto that, who can speak to that.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ryan Cook, Senior Engineer with the city. So overall, the drainage for the site, everything drains from the, let's see if we can pull up a plan, site plan here. Basically, kind of from the west to the east and to the north a bit. So the low point for the property is located in the northeast corner. As far as the project goes, one of the requirements is from our municipal regional permit from the State Water Board is that they have to treat all the on-site water. And so there's bioretention basins throughout the site that they have to install. The main one in question and of issue is in that bottom right corner on the plan shown, which is the northeast corner. That is the historical low point, and the main issue is to try and relocate that. And as the applicant had provided in their comments back from after design review, moving that to a new location would require raising that corner of the site, and unfortunately, that would have negative consequences as it relates to potential flooding on site with those units. Because as part of best practices, we always make sure we have an overland release, and that goes in the same location that drainage has historically gone to, which is in that corner. And so raising that up significantly would cause potential impacts on site. And so city staff supports the design as shown as far as best management goes for drainage.
Okay, supposedly there is an easement, drainage easement on the property.
So along the eastern property line, there's two primary easements. There is a storm drain easement that the city does have pipes that go along coming from along the north property line and then turn and go through the property out to 3rd Avenue. The bigger one that's of more issue is a sanitary sewer easement that is also along that east side. Central San they're the owners and rights of that, and they have standards for 15 feet for the easement, and they have strict standards that no bioretention facilities or other drainage facilities can be within their easement. And so, unfortunately, those bioretentions can't be relocated into those areas because it doesn't meet their standards.
Thank you. Questions of?
Just to piggyback on that, thank you for coming and providing your expertise. Why was there a suggestion to move the bioretention area?
The residents at the DRC meeting in December had requested that it could be adjusted, and Gerardo can correct me if I'm wrong. The goal was to shift the bioretention that's in the lower right there, so that way they could shift the overall units further to the east to create a larger setback from the property on the west side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question about how, what standards you're using to determine flooding and how that works, because it seems like we hear a lot about 100-year floods and these kind of things, but with climate change and the like, we're seeing 100-year floods every year. And so I'm wondering if you can speak to what standard was used and how that's reflecting our current situation.
Absolutely. So our current standard for projects of this side only have to treat a 10-year storm event, so which is a much smaller event than, or more frequent event than the 100-year. And so it's a lower standard, but it's still something that as they evaluate and provide their hydraulics in terms of the quantity of water that collects on the site. And if the flooding issue is primarily if there's an issue with the storm drain system that they have on site, if it gets clogged or anything like that, it can create flooding. It's not necessarily, it's not in a flood zone or along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Are all of these providing hydro modification?
No, they are not. This project is only subject to treatment only and not hydromodification. So they don't have to do flow control.
Because, so there's going to be, we're both engineers, so there's going to be more volume of water coming off the site.
So
than-
as part of their, or in city's requirements for that, they have to demonstrate that their post-project runoff does not exceed pre-project conditions. And so they have various methods of storage and metering that to, while they're not subject to hydromodification in the sense of the state water board's requirements for the MRP, they are required to meter flow based upon city standards.
So only the flow coming off will be metered, but there's going to be more volume of water because you're increasing the impervious area significantly, right?
Yes, and all that is going to the city's underground storm drain system.
So you're going to have additional volume of water exiting the site by way of the increase of the impervious area. So did they do an analysis on that increased volume of water in the pipes?
Sorry, no, there is storage pipes that they have. I don't have the bioretention basin number, but in the middle of the site, on the bottom of the plan, there are storage pipes there that are to, it's not shown on this plan, but
I
to
see it.
meter and store
It's
water
two-
on site.
Two 24-inch storm drain pipes.
Yes.
They have a weir. So it looks like they have a weir system by way of a 4-inch orifice.
Yes, and so that's to meter to meet pre-project conditions.
And so that should ideally provide detention and retention so that the post equals the pre.
Yes.
And then I see that there's a sewer and a storm drain line. I would say like one thing that kind of concerns me is if something happened to that sewer line, there's no junctures on either, you're putting a new road on top of it.
Is this for the new mainline extension within the roadway or the existing one in the easement along the east side?
It's the existing 8-inch sanitary sewer.
Okay.
Like if something would happen, if something would happen and you have to break up the pavement there, is that a turnaround for the fire department?
That is, so the actual driveway does meet the drive aisles do meet fire standards for turnaround. As far as the sanitary sewer going underneath that, that is completely standard, and that's within Central Sand standards and everything. And they are putting a new main line down the street as well.
Okay, no, I was just saying if it needed maintenance.
If it needed maintenance, then Central Sand would come in there and they would tear it up and replace their line or fix it and then replace the asphalt.
And that's
Back
okay,
in place.
that area wouldn't be accessible.
It would be for a short period of time, just during construction, just like any other repair.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions of staff? Okay, well now, thank you very much. And we'll now open for public communications and start with the applicant. Like to come up and talk to us?
Oh, no, yeah.
Good evening, honorable commissioners, city staff, and Walnut Creek residents. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Sia Moazami with Haven Development. I prepared a presentation for everyone this evening. However, I think Gerardo did a fantastic job presenting the project, and some of it's redundant, so I won't go in and repeat some of the things that Gerardo already covered. We thank you for your time this evening. I've got my consultant team with me here this evening. If you have any technical questions, civils here, architects here, landscapes here. The one clarification I would like to make is we are planting 10 new trees, and 6 of those trees are from the list of protected trees by the city of Walnut Creek, and 4 are not. Is that right, Monica? 6 and 4. So, and to the extent we could, we accommodated the residents adjacent to us on the west and to the north of us. We listened to their concerns about, a wood wall. We changed that wood wall to a concrete wall. We increased the fence height. We added more interesting architectural features to improve the project overall. And so here to answer any questions. If not, our design team's here, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? Yes.
What's the height of the buildings?
The height of the buildings, that's a great question.
All the way to the eaves.
To the eaves.
Maybe Dahlin knows. Oh, sorry.
Just bear with me, sorry. If you can find it faster than I can, sure, that'd
On
be
the
great.
elevation drawing, I just had the page. To the highest point of the structure, it is 28 feet 8 inches. And then on the Bay Area elevation, it goes 28 4 inches to the highest point.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will now open it up for the rest of the public who would like to make any comment you would like on this project. Please come forward to the podium. Good.
I'll wait for Gerardo to pass that around.
Okay, we do have them.
You have them, okay, great. Thank you for allowing us to come tonight to make our public comments. My name is Cynthia Schneider. My partner and I, he's back there, Jim Durandis, live at 741 Thomas Lane. We purchased our home in 2009. We share the common fence along, I don't know which direction it is, the perimeter with the Haven property. I have had a gazillion meetings with the city people and with the Haven people. I thank them all for their time and generosity of their information they provided. I'm not even going to try to get into questioning the bonus density plan. I might make a comment at the end. What I'm here about is that my biggest concern, as I know it now, unless Haven has done some adjustments, is how this project is going to be impacting our privacy. I've had color photos in the back, and photo 1 and 2 shows, I'm mostly concerned with lot 4, because that abuts our property, starts at 3.5 feet setback, which is the equivalent of a couple feet, maybe if you walk the line, and a 14-foot setback. So with that proximity to our house, literally whoever buys unit number 4 will be able to see into our bedroom. Photo number 1 shows the view from our house to the project site. Photo number 2 is from the project site looking into our bedroom area, which you have to add another 20 feet. So they'll be able to see into our bedroom, and 4, 5, and 6 actually run across the whole property line. We entertain, et cetera. So my biggest concern is lot number 4. Specifically, unless I heard differently, the large,
I'm sorry.
did it end? Okay.
Thank you. We do have your documents.
Okay, so, thank you. I'm glad I wrote the detail on the paperwork.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is it 2 minutes? And yes, we are limiting everybody to 2 minutes by city council rules.
My name again is Jim Durandis. We are partners on Thomas Lane. I just want to address the trees a little bit. As we have, could you go to that screen where you had the green and the show? Yeah, if you could go to that. Our concerns is we have 3 probably 75-foot redwood trees that are in the back when you get to that screen here, where the red. Well, that'll do it. Where the greens are in the red. So back past the green, and they're right at that corner. That's one of the trees. There's 2 more, and then we have probably a 30, 35, 40-foot one. Is the next one green down, and then our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Edwards. Those are the 2, down below. Those are theirs redwood trees, and then Grangers are the 4 or the 5 that are along the other property along heading towards 3rd Avenue. So our concern is that with the grading of the lot and everything, those redwood trees can be very sensitive. Now, I know Haven has said they will have an on-site arborist, which is good, and they will build a fence around it. But I'm just concerned that somehow those could get damaged. And the other question I have is on the green ones, all of them. And maybe that's I don't understand. Maybe that's the drip line deal. But those are all on our properties. Those are not on the Haven property. So when they say that those are going to remain, I question whether do they have that authority to designate our trees as being remain. Maybe that has to do with the drip line. I'm not familiar with it, but anyway. So comment. And then there are 7 trees that the arborist did noted. We have 5 junipers we planted and 2 more redwoods, and that was in 2019 through 2019-20. So those are not noted on that arborist report. How do we make sure that those roots don't get damaged too? You know, because they're visible from the property, but it wasn't noted. How do we ensure that those are going to be taken care of? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Evening. My name is Terry Edwards. My wife and I have been in Walnut Creek since 1992, so we've been here for 33 years. And we're very, very concerned about what we've seen happening in the last 5 to 10 years in terms of the density changing in Walnut Creek. So we're right next to Cynthia and Jim, and to have 6 lots in what amounts to a half acre of space is just incredible. We think that 4 would be about right, but I mean, this is supposed to be 3/4 of an acre, but probably at least 1/4 of an acre is taken up with the easements and the common drive. So that leaves about a half an acre for 6 houses, and that is just incredible. We've never seen anything like that. So I'm just concerned about what's happening in Walnut Creek. And I think also the fact that these houses are so close together, that would be a risk insofar as fire safety too. Because if one of these groups of three houses catches fire, I think it's going to be the other houses there in that group are going to be at risk. So, so that's basically what my my concern is. It's just the way, the direction that this is heading in Walnut Creek.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Steve Collins. Thanks for listening to me. I have that building, I have that property adjacent, and I have a 3.5-foot proposed offset off lot number 4. That building is 3 units, 3 different addresses, all on 3rd Avenue, 1958, 1960, and 1962. They're low income. I have working people, good folks in there. I've had the property for 30 years. And I'm just asking for a couple of more feet offset, and that, you know, just 5 feet, 5 more feet would be significant in easing problems between the people that live there, the new buyers and my tenants. And that's really it. That's what I'm asking. I know this is my final chance to ask for that, and I'm just asking for 5 more feet. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Spiegel. I'm right across the street at 1951 3rd Avenue. In a very positive note, I'm really pleased to have single-family homes being put up there and not fast food or junkyard. And it seems like New Haven's been doing really good in responding to our requests. My only concerns, I wanted to point out that easement, I guess it's a sewer easement, is used to park heavy equipment and large trucks every day. I don't know how that impacts this project, but that certainly seems kind of innocuous for a residential neighborhood. And I'm here to echo, I appreciate we have to infill, we have to improve density, people have to be able to have homes to buy, but adding one low-density unit or one low-income unit and then taking 3 groups of working people and putting them in perpetual shade, that doesn't quite seem equitable to me. So I mimic Steve's comment and really like something done to give those people a little more space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rob Johnson, and I live at 1910 3rd Avenue. And I wonder if I could ask the builder, is this the only style home they make, or do they make smaller homes? And why would they want to put such large homes so close together on this street? I came to 3rd Avenue in about, 30 years ago. I didn't know exactly what it was, and what I found is it's a very charming little neighborhood. And I think this project is going to disrupt it. And I'm not exactly sure what the city is thinking about, but what the future of this 3rd Avenue, this charming little neighborhood is going to be if you keep building these big homes right next to each other and squeeze out all the children play places, places to play. I've seen this neighborhood develop into a wonderful little spot, and I've lived in a number of spots around the Bay Area, and I would say this is probably the nicest one I've lived in. So I was wondering can the plans for this be redone, or is it locked in at this point? Could they go to 4 smaller homes, or it has to be this or not? I'd actually have some other ideas about what could be developed there without disrupting the 3rd Avenue, that little area. But I was just wondering, do they even build a smaller home?
I don't have an answer for that myself.
No, I didn't think, but I mean, has that been presented to them? Or can you even present that kind of thing?
I'll let the applicant come back up and answer that question if they can build a smaller home. But I can't
Yeah.
answer that.
Okay.
I mean, I just wonder, you know, it's like buying a car. You go to the showroom and you can only buy the big car, you don't have other options.
Okay. You have your 2 minutes, and then we'll have him possibly come back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will now close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for questions
So,
or,
Chair, if I can, before you do that, if you wanted the applicant to answer that question, I just
Okay.
suggested.
okay, before I close I'll reopen it slightly and for the applicant to come back and answer those questions, please.
Sure, thank you. It's change is not easy for anyone, and I understand. It's just part of life, I think, and the Bay Area needs more housing, and if you just go around the Bay Area, you'll see areas that were once orchard are now single-family homes. 20 years later, they're townhomes. You drive down on the peninsula, they're larger buildings, so it's difficult, but families need places to live, and when you have an acre lot and you've got to put in a street and build an affordable unit, there's only so much you can do as a developer and still make money. So to answer the last gentleman that spoke, shrinking the homes would make the project infeasible. Our bedrooms we have like 12 by 12. I mean, sorry, I don't have all the exact dimensions of all the bedrooms, but these are going to be families that are going to move into these homes, hopefully. And they need a place to live, they need bedrooms, and they need to have outdoor space as well. So, we did everything we could to accommodate our neighbors and get the right amount of square footage to make a project that's feasible to build. So I can, I'll kind of stop there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for comments or a motion. I would like to make a comment about the density our hands are tied by the state legislature that have dictated the bonus process and the entire process of why we're so tight, shall we say. So, other commissioners?
Well, I just think it's important to understand the interplay here between the developers, the neighborhood, and the city. What we're accountable as commissioners is to make sure that whatever is proposed by private industry meets standards or meets state laws. We don't decide to build or not to build. That is for a developer to build and to come forward, and we're grateful when they do, because we need more housing in Walnut Creek. But our job is to really look at, are we meeting standards? And does it meet the zoning rules? And so we're carefully looking at that. So it's an interesting interplay. Just want to make that comment.
Commissioner Ward, looks like you're ready.
Sure. So as we keep mentioning, there is a huge housing shortage and a need for housing at all price levels in Walnut Creek. I think that I'm impressed with the hard work that city staff did to work with the developer and the neighbors to modify this plan to try and accommodate all the different interests that were happening. And I think that it appears there's been some significant drainage upgrades and other considerations taken with regard to that, which is always a big concern in our older neighborhoods that weren't designed for that kind of density, perhaps. So it looks like we're getting quite a few new units and one more affordable unit. It doesn't count as affordable, right? It's medium affordable. Is that what we're calling it? I don't know. Moderate, okay. All in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. But overall, this seems to be, while, different than what was there before, it is addressing a significant need, and we do need to have more housing in our community to reduce our environmental footprint on the community generally, to reduce people's commutes, to try and encourage people to live where they're also going to school and shopping and supporting our downtown and the like. So I think there's that positive benefit as well as having new community members who can bring their skills and talents and selves to the community and make it a richer and more vibrant place to live as well. So I think I appreciate all the work that's been done to make this the best project it can be and to comply with all the very complicated requirements from all different areas that were going into it.
I'm very happy to see that there has been, there's a lot of neighbors who are here to express their thoughts tonight on this project. I'm very happy to see the work that has been done with the city staff and the developers in order to make this project feasible and as well as to address the housing needs in Walnut Creek. I did want to speak a little bit to the idea of what creates charm in neighborhoods. As someone who is relatively new to the city, I currently live in a neighborhood that's currently upzoning and do have a similar situation behind my house where they built townhomes much more densely than the original lots. Okay, I'll speak into the mic more. Is this better? Okay, great, because I am hard of hearing myself. I do want to make sure you can understand me. So I think when I came to Walnut Creek, I moved into a house where we had townhomes behind it, very similar to the ones that were like this. And so I definitely understand the concerns about privacy, about how close the houses are to the fences, the setbacks, and things like that, and as well as the charm of the neighborhood. And so what I've found is, like, yes, it does feel a lot more close than I was used to from places I've lived elsewhere, but it also means there's an opportunity to meet new neighbors and to discover, people who welcomed me to the neighborhood of Walnut Creek. As someone who's setting roots down here, getting to know people, I find that Walnut Creek is a very welcoming community, and I am happy to see the neighbors that I haven't known before get to know me, say hi to me as I go to work every day, get to know what I'm doing, how I'm doing in my life as a young person in Walnut Creek, especially since a lot of these residents have been in this neighborhood for a long time, similar to all of you here. So I value the charm that comes from the community, from neighbors who are willing to say hi, and people who appreciate that change is an opportunity to be a welcoming neighbor, to say, here's the best of Walnut Creek. It may not necessarily be from the housing in the neighborhood, but more so from the strength of the community that welcomes people who move here. That's what I wanted to share.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, one more, sorry.
I did want. I reviewed the plans in detail before, and I did want to address some of the public comments, just to put people at ease, because I get it. Density is changing. Regarding the trees, and I can't remember who it was with. Right here, yeah. You had a concern about how will the trees be preserved and the root line. I am not an arborist, but the one thing that I did note is that when I reviewed the grading plan, it seems like the civil engineer CBG went to great effort to try to keep the existing elevations roughly the same, and that is the best thing that you can do from a grading perspective to save trees. So that was one important thing that I noticed as you were discussing, because those redwood trees did not grow overnight. So I did want to, and I don't know if that was on purpose to the CBG folks out there, but I did notice that they went to great lengths. The other thing that I noticed about the grading was also that they tried not to do a lot of fill to elevate the site, and so I think there was a lot of effort with regards to, because then that would have then pushed the height of the buildings even taller. So that was another thing that I noticed. So there was some pretty intricate grading because, as the engineer had said, you need to provide overland release, meaning that if every single inlet got plugged, the engineer just told us that all the water naturally gravity goes out and they're not depending on a storm drain system. So to me, like, that made me feel so much better to know that if something happened, because that is a natural low point. And now I understand why, because it's picking up other areas. And then I hear about the 3 feet. And one thing that I noticed is the efficiency for the architecture of the home. The architecture is, so the building from width to width is 31 feet wide. And so it's literally, usually it's dictated by the garage, and they have a tiny little opening into the house because it's a stair. So, because that was also something I wanted to see is, you know, I understand that you can physically preclude, you use the waivers, you know, as a reductions if it would physically preclude the proposed density. But that was one thing that I did notice, was that there was the efficiency and the planning. And so I think there was a lot of thought from Dahlin to not make, because when you have these sizes of homes, they're typically wider. So I did look at that. And there was one other, and then I think you guys are missing a waiver of the building height in here, because they did ask for a waiver of the height. And then there was a comment about fire. That's right. So the reason I asked about the building height, because fire code is very, very stringent on needing aerial apparatus access. And so that's why I asked about the building height, to make sure that from the fire road width and what kind of fire safety would be needed. So the fact that they kept it under the 35 feet, that made me feel a little bit better, because then I realized, okay, there is more density, but at the very least, it's not, the eaves are underneath the 35 feet, so you're bypassing an entire aerial apparatus access that would be needed from the fire department. So anyways, I don't know if that helped or not, but we're hearing you, and so I just want to make sure to provide that feedback that I saw as an engineer on the plans. I'll stop talking.
Thank you. And I would like to thank the neighbors for coming out tonight and explaining your concerns. Question?
I'm sorry, I came late. I'm a neighbor. And I had a concern, and I'm out of turn, I understand. So if this just passed my time, then I understand.
I'm sorry you are past your time. We can't reopen the public communications, public hearing right now. And I also thank the staff for bringing us the best possible project for the location as they could. And looking for a motion.
No. Are we missing a waiver on paragraph 9?
So I am reviewing, I'm looking at the attachment 5. That's the applicant's request, correct?
Yeah, so the height in residential zones is 25 feet. You can ask for an additional 4 feet if you provide a roof pitch of 312 or greater, which gets you to 29 feet.
So they're under that at 28, and
Yes.
we don't need to have that listed
don't
in
need to have
paragraph
that.
9?
They're consistent with.
Yes, they're consistent with the residential 8 height standards.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was reading the state density bonus letter, and there they said the proposed maximum height is 30. That's why I got confused. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to move that we.
So I'm
approve-
sorry, commissioners. So is the request 30 feet? Not 20?
28.
It's not. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make that clear on the record that they're not doing that.
I don't know which, where did I open this? Does anybody else see that? Maybe it was just me. It was their letter.
Well, it does say that the proposed maximum height is 30 feet, but as I'm hearing from, right, as I'm hearing from Gerard, they're actually proposing it 28.
Okay.
So they're consistent.
Yeah, and if you make a motion, it's based on the revised.
Correct.
applicant.
All right. Now I'm going to make a motion to approve the draft resolution as revised, major subdivision density bonus design review, tree removal, and tree drip line encroachment permits, application number Y24-051, 1948 3rd Avenue.
Second.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
And that, with the revised, it also includes the added condition of approval as noted in the presentation before you.
That's included in the document we were given.
Correct. So there
today.
is a revised resolution. It's on the dais and it's also online. So that's the motion. That's what you're voting on.
Correct. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Kwok,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Klopp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nating,
Yes.
Chair Strongman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And moving on to commission considerations. Do we have any?
Is that where I tell you about Transpac?
Pardon? Yes? No, one more. You're
One
the next
more.
one now. Do we have any commission considerations? Oh,
So I wanted to add that I will be joining the working group on the updates to the sign ordinance and the design guidelines as the representative from the Planning Commission. So I'll share any major milestones or updates with you all as that project progresses.
okay, and
Hi, again, thank you for appointing me to Transpac. I did attend the first substantive meeting of that group. And some of the topics that I think are of interest to us are the daylighting law, which has gone into effect in all the cities, which prohibits parking within 20 feet of any intersection, marked or unmarked. Walnut Creek's doing quite a bit of work in that area, but there was a presentation around the county of the work that's being done to improve safety. There also is a Contra Costa County-wide Comprehension Transportation Safety Action Plan to reduce accidents, and also a countywide emergency evacuation plan that's being developed under a Caltrans grant. So,
thank you. Anything else for this? Okay, moving on to commission member staff reports and acknowledgements. And I'd like to mention that 3 of us are going to go to Santa Rosa to the Planning Commission conference next week. So, anyone else? Any other comments?
I would just like to thank the Planning Commission. It's been an amazing year and a half plus. This will be my last Planning Commission meeting, and Chip Griffin, who's in the audience, will be taking over as Planning Commission Secretary. So I just want to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you for
And
your
we thank
service.
you, yes,
Yeah.
and we thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we wanted to thank you. You've been really amazing, and it's just been a pleasure to work with you. So thank you for that.
And with that, I believe we're adjourned.